So a lot of you guys have been asking me for my opinion on the new Starfield leaked gameplay. For those of you that don't know, over 40 minutes of the start of Starfield was leaked out onto the internet. And out of respect for Bethesda, I am not going to be talking about that leak, what happens in that gameplay. And also, what I will say is it's just very weird. Like, there's a guy recording a landscape screen in portrait like this. This is the screen, and he's like recording it like this. And it's like 720p gameplay. There's a baby crying in the background. It's just, everything about it is like a bit weird. But what we can react to is this new interview with the first minutes of Starfield gameplay revealed from IGN, because Bethesda had their own show booth where they showed off the opening of the game. Now, full disclaimer, I've not actually played Starfield myself. I do know a lot of people, a lot of my friends have the game. They've been talking to me about it. So I know about the game, but I'm only going to reveal to you guys what has been said publicly about it. I've also not played it myself. So as I'll talk about in this video, there's a lot of things where I feel like I can't actually, like space combat. Like I need to play that to know if it feels good or not. So we'll watch this now, but you know, if you want to see my first impressions, I'll be live streaming them at launch with you guys.
So here at Gamescom, there is a theater presentation for Starfield. Simon,
yes.
Let's just tell people what you saw.
We saw a lot. I feel like what we saw is maybe 15 to 20 minutes of the game, but kind of more, it seemed a longer mission condensed. There was a lot of fading in between scenes. And it
sped it up.
Okay, so it was a pre-cut show they saw at the start of the game. Interesting that it was pre-cut. Maybe they didn't want to spoil certain things and they wanted you to experience it for yourself.
They sped it up and it looked like it was the first mission of the game. That's what it was. It was the intro of the game called One Small Step. Nice little nod to NASA there. But yeah, it was, where do we start? You start as a miner, it looks like, so you're kind of...
Yeah, Todd also confirmed on the stage at the Gamescom opening show that you do start as a miner, and the main story is you going out and finding relic.
The depths, I think there was the moon of Vectera. I don't know if that means anything to anyone. I don't think that's a real place. Maybe it is. I'm not some sort of, you know, I don't know everything about space, you know what I mean? But it started out with that classic Bethesda kind of throwing you into the world, close to people's faces.
Yeah.
You were kind of, felt like it was almost like your first day on the job sort of thing. And it had
cool.
sort of that, already a couple of characters there that had that Bethesda mix of like authority and charm. There was a little bit of humor there already. They're just so good at that writing, I think, of like bringing a bit of humor, but also like emerging you into a world so quickly, just like throwing slang, like calling you a dusty. I don't know what a dusty is.
I thought they were just talking to me the whole time.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to me that Bethesda do this thing where, from a roleplay perspective, sometimes it's nice to be like, why is my character in prison? I get to like formulate that backstory, which is why it's a cool starting point. In Starfield, you're starting out as a miner. That's what you did. But that's how you're going to discover this relic, I assume.
You're kind of working your way through this mine. You've got this sort of like laser cutter thing. So you're kind of doing, kind of reminds you a little bit of No Man's Sky at the start. They're kind of just like, you know, pushing a laser into some rocks to get some ore. I believe it was beryllium. I'm keeping all these things in mind. But then you can go deeper into this cave, and there's this weird sort of like glowing artifact thing that you touch.
And of course you touch it.
Of course you touch it. And it's like...
And nothing happens, and it's unremarkable.
Exactly, and the game ends.
No,
no, what happens is you kind of touch it. It looks like you're having these sort of almost like 2001 A Space Odyssey like visions. It's almost quite similar to, do you remember the opening of Mass Effect 1 where you touch the thing?
I thought of the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know if they're playing on that deliberately, but it's a cool opening, and then you kind of just, you've obviously blacked out from that and you wake up and you're straight into character creation, which they kind of blitz through. I reckon most people, I mean, I know I'm going to spend probably at least an hour on that. Like,
there was a picture that was leaked of Todd Howard's face in character creation. Apparently that's confirmed to be AI, but I don't know if it is or isn't.
Choosing all my different, like, I don't know how many moles I want, but also, you know, my background, my traits.
Well, yeah, the background and traits are really important because there seem to be conflicting backgrounds and conflicting traits where you pick one, you can't pick the other one, etc.
Yeah, there was at least...
That's not really a problem. I feel like, how far are they going to go with those background traits? And I think Starfield will be compared to Baldur's Gate 3. In Baldur's Gate 3, if you pick like one of like 18 classes or something crazy, like in each playthrough, you're going to miss hundreds of dialogue options unique to other classes. I don't know if Bethesda are going to be prepared to cut that much content from the game just because you didn't pick a certain background. It will be interesting to see how impactful they are. Kind of like with Cyberpunk, like how much difference did being a street kid really make beyond the intro of the game.
At least a dozen, maybe 24 different backgrounds there. And it looks like whatever one you picked, you got a bit of reactive dialogue from the person you were creating the character with. So that was cool. So there's, again, that kind of immerging you into this world straight away. You feel like a part. And then,
like in Skyrim, where you choose a race and then you get a different response.
You get what I feel like is, the Bethesda step out moment that they like to put in all their games. In Fallout, you get a vault opening. In Skyrim, you get a big old dragon coming up ahead.
Yeah.
This time,
Todd Howard actually specifically said that there's multiple step out moments in Starfield, which I love the idea of, because I think those are some of the most memorable parts of a Bethesda game.
this sort of like medical facility, I guess you're in. The door opens and you find out you're on like the surface of this like beautiful looking moon, and the music, like, barely seen any of this game, but I've been listening to this score for like at least a year now though. The music in this game is just stunning.
Yeah.
What were your initial impressions of that step up moment? Because I think it's always more impressive maybe if we got to play it and you can the build up, but like it didn't quite hit me quite like, a vault opening necessarily.
So for me, I don't think that is actually intended to be their step up moment, because there's a combat scenario that happens and you sort of learn how to fight the other mercenaries or whatever they're called. And then you get on your spaceship and you go to space.
Yes.
And I think that's the moment that they're targeting.
I think like Todd Howard previously mentioned, it's probably a couple of years ago now, that Starfield has multiple step out moments. So maybe that...
It really sounds like with the intro of the game, they're going to like run you through the mechanics. This is the combat. This is mining. Now we're going to go into space. And all these things to kind of show you this is everything the game has is going to probably be bundled into that start of the game. I think that's very intentional. Kind of like what they did with the prison escape in Skyrim, just teaching you the game mechanics. Same with Fallout 4,
That's, one of them. Space is another one. Later, we'll maybe hint on what might be another one of those. But yeah, you mentioned these like pirates turn up. The Crimson Fleet, we've heard about them. They turn up because they're hunting basically this character you meet who's going to buy this artifact off you at this spaceport called Barrett. He's part of Constellation, who kind of seem this almost like mythical, like folklore group of explorers in this universe. Like they talk about
they're the last space explorers.
Half the workers in this mining facility not even believing they exist. So that's like an interesting sort. I like that sort of like, almost like legendary aspect to it. And then you're encouraged after this fight to go to Constellation to join them and deliver this artifact, because they've been searching for these around the galaxy.
Yeah, and I really like...
We still don't know fully why, but there were some very interesting diagrams that Bethesda left in the previous trailer, and you could analyze probably why, but again, don't want to spoil it.
Like how they teach you combat in that early section. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll at least know how to deal with that. But for me, that space moment was it. That's where like it really piques my imagination, and I start thinking about the possibilities of future jumps that I'll be doing. What will the experiences be like when I find planets that I could land on? Because they have you go land on the next planet where you have to deliver the artifact, right?
Exactly.
Interesting happened in the menu. I don't know if you picked up on it, but it was like something like bad cargo not detected.
A cargo that you can sneak in, like counterfeit goods and stuff. You can also have holds that are like protected. And we know about that from the stuff we've already seen in the gameplay.
I wonder if you have like something illegal, if that's going to...
The space police are coming.
Are the space police coming? Like what happens in that situation? Can you talk your way out of it? You're like, oh, my equipment's being weird.
There's so many possibilities. Like even going back to that initial like fight against like 5 or so pirates, the pick up a weapon objective was optional, so I don't know if there's a pacifist way of getting through that somehow. Like as you said, you go into space and you're instantly ambushed by these Crimson Fleet pirates again. I believe their ships are called Ghosts, I think, which is a cool name. And there's a little dogfight section. You don't really get from that how you do that, but it looked pretty solid. I'm a sucker for space combat. They're always my favorite.
I feel like the space combat is going to be one of those things where you only know if it's good or not when you actually get your hands on it and play it.
Part of Star Wars games is space combat, so if I'm doing a lot of that, I'm happy. And like you said, almost the third step out moment, it seems, will be arriving in New Atlantis, which is the city where Constellation seemed to call home. And we saw little glimpses of that city. They did like a fun little montage, like cool little coffee shops, some nice gardens, like massive skyscrapers. I don't know, they've said this city is huge. It looks huge. I don't know quite.
I think this is very much like Fallout 4, right? Like these buildings here, these skyscrapers, like Night City as well, like you can't actually go inside them and like go up in them.
Quite the scale here, but like we're gonna get lost in not only the universe but just this one city, I think.
Oh yeah. I think that was...
I'm also interested to explore the planets. Like, I've got no idea what that experience is going to be like. Are they going to be too big and empty? Is there going to be enough interesting stuff to do on these planets? Are they intentionally going to feel isolating? What kind of locations that are randomly generated am I going to find there? All of this stuff, I just have to experience.
As part of the whole demo too, like a lot seem cut out, and then you're just delivering, you're going to the door and you meet that tribunal or whatever they're referred to as in the game.
Constellation.
And we have a lot to talk about. Then it closes on that moment. I thought it would close when you jump to space, or like at one of those jump out moments. Or
it just goes, they tease that sort of, it's almost like, I don't know if you're joining Constellation, you're just going to work with them. I don't know if they're even the like evil force in this game. Who knows?
I think Constellation have been confirmed as the romance options for the game are there.
Like, that tease of like the adventure has begun. I just like kind of the aesthetic of the Constellation building. Like, already we've seen like a sand-colored mine, space itself, like a dusty spaceport.
The palette is awesome.
I like not just the palette of these different places, but the fact they have a very different feel. Like, they're different civilizations.
The city is just like showing like a proper like sci-fi futuristic skyscrapers, but then the Constellation like seemed like their headquarters was like laid on with like dark wood and everything. It was just very nice. I'd like to live there. But I'd like to live in a lot of games. I prefer to live in Starfield at the moment than I would anywhere in Fallout. Let's put it that way.
Right, I mean, goes without saying, really. Overall impressions, do you like this presentation? I think it was really smart to do it in this big fancy theater where the bass is like punching you in the gut throughout.
Like I said, that music, hearing it with that, I just know when I'm at home now, I'm never going to hear it quite like that, which is a little bit sad. But I liked that it was quite obviously the opening game, but it was smart to show, like, you can already see you get so much variety in this opening mission. You get exploration, like navigating conversations, ground combat, space combat, like exploration of a city. Like, I don't know. It's just, this game seems like a lot, and I've been waiting for so long, like, for this game, and so far.
We all have. I think Todd Howard also mentioned that there's a lot of things that they haven't actually shown yet, and they want to leave that as a surprise, which is cool to hear.
Doesn't look like it's going to let me down.
I'm excited to learn more, and those are just the building blocks of what you can experience later on.
It looks ridiculous.
I think the game's going to be good. I have no idea how I'm going to feel about it. I've not played it yet, and I think I just need to play it to actually understand what it's like. I won't be able to just tell by looking at gameplay.
Simon, thank you so much for telling us a little bit about what we saw behind closed doors. And thank you so much for joining us. Let us know if you're hyped for Starfield in the comments below. And for more on all things gaming, keep it right here.
Obviously, I've not played the game myself yet. And actually, for the first time, I mean, I'm going to experience that with you guys on launch day. I'm going to be playing the game live, so you guys can just come and join me, ask me questions, and we'll just be experiencing Starfield for the first time. I'll give you my honest impressions and feedback, and really formulate an opinion about the game live in front of you. I'll see you at launch.